Hello and welcome to session 2. In session 2, we will be discussing tools for competitive and collaborative logistics, including some recent examples from Brazil. My name is Joanne Perry and I'm the editor of Automotive Logistics. We have a great panel today. I'd like to introduce Celso Simomura, who is Vice President of Purchasing, R&D, Government Affairs and PR at Toyota Brazil. I expect he's an incredibly busy man with a job title like that, so we're very lucky to have him here. I would like to introduce also Carlos Banzato, who is Aftermarket Sales and Marketing Director at Johnson Controls. And finally, we have Patrick Bonali, who is General Manager and VP of Latin America at Jeffco. So first, I would like to invite Celso to give his presentation.
How can this? Okay. Bom,
Well, good morning to all. So, it's before lunch. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here to talk to you a little bit. I'm going to speak a little on logistics. My presentation is not going to be very lengthy. We're going to speak more about logistics. But before doing that, before speaking about logistics itself, I would like to give you an overview about the operations of Toyota in Brazil. So I understand that some of you are not from the automotive industry. We have 4 plants. We have the one in São Bernardo where we produce the Bandeirantes, now produces parts and components. And where we have the cooperative part in Dayatuba, where we have Corolla manufacturing, Sorocaba for Etios and Yaris, and Porto Feliz, our last plant, where we have the production of the engines that are mounted at the Etios and Yaris models. So 4 plants, and besides that, we have some distribution centers. We have 4 of them, one at Guaíba, concentrated in vehicles, Vitória and Suape, geared towards the logistics of vehicles, and Porto Feliz is exclusively for parts, replacement parts. This is the market. We had a peak in the past. We reached a lower, and now we are starting to recover, thanks to the acceptance of our customers. Toyota has a situation that was a little bit different. We didn't drop in 30% in 2015 like the others. No, it's the opposite. We are growing a little bit, 1-2%, but we didn't have this drop so present as in others. Last year we had a record of production. I believe that we're going to go beyond this record this year, and our forecast is that next year we're going to do the same in production and in sales. Same thing occurred last year in terms of production and sales, and we hope that this year we're going to have the same situation. Our lineup. Just to explain to you where the cars come from. Corolla, Yaris, and Etios come from Brazil, and the others are from Argentina, and CBU Prius, HV4, and Camry are imported from Japan. So for you to understand our context, let us speak a little bit about logistics. Last year, we exported, or better saying, we imported 50,000 vehicles, and this year, I believe that we're going to import like 57,000. But exports are increasing. 30% of what we produce here is exported. So in 2017, we exported 51,000, and we hope that this fiscal year we're going to export more, like 67,000. So this is our logistics. As you know, exports are more concentrated in South America and Argentina, Peru, Colombia, and other countries from the same region, all South America. What about the vehicle logistics? Here we have the network of dealerships. A little bit different from other O&Ms. We work according to our philosophy with a short stock. So at every plant you have 1 day, 2 days of stock. When you sell the car, as consumers, perhaps you have this experience, but we do not have the car there on the stocks. It's always being managed. In logistics, we have to have an ETA which is very assertive. When the person purchases the car, has to know when the car is going to be handed to him. We do not have we do not have a situation where we have ready cars for each and every one. So you sell the car and you have to promise the proper date to deliver it to the client. And we have the difficulties of the country, but we're working with 97% of TI. We have a program for the delivery, and we have to keep assertive in terms of pleasing the client in terms of the delivery of the purchase made by them. Well, in terms of the change in imports, we, Toyota, we want to work more regionally, meaning the South American region, we call Latin American Central region. So Toyota, Argentina, and Brazil were separated. Now, starting this year, we started working as a region. So my function, my accountability in terms of purchase and engineering, it covers the whole region, Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela, where we produce. And with that, we made a profit. We had gains. Toyota Brazil and Argentina had separate logistics before, and now we have combined logistics. We work together with Argentina, and with that we have very interesting gains in terms of logistics, in terms of cost, and rendering better services and dealing better with our stocks. Now, in terms of parts, the network for part logistics. We import from Asia, from Europe, and also here from Argentina. But we also export parts. I don't know if you know, San Bernardo do Campo nearby export more than 3.5 million of parts, connective rods and camshafts to West Virginia, Kentucky, and Alabama. For you to understand that 100% of Camry produced and sold in the United States, all those parts come from San Bernardo do Campo. So that leads us to improve constantly our logistics. We cannot stop the production line in the United States due to lack of parts. So another example of changes that we are endeavoring to do. We have here in replacements and accessories, two distribution centers, one at Votorantim and another at São Bernardo. We consolidated both of them. Now we have a new warehouse at Porto Feliz, and that brought to us major improvements. 50% less cost in labor and in terms of logistics, an improvement of 30% of the logistic efficiency of the operation and distribution of parts. I already made the comment. We want to improve constantly, and we very careful. We want to keep to the proper dates as promised. If the car that we are sending is already so and has a problem in terms of quality, our consumer will not have his car. So we try to strongly reduce the damage rate. So we know about the difficulties and the challenges that we have in the country, but we're trying to have some Kaizen work to analyze correctly what are the problems, and we have countermeasures in order to improve our performance. Another major improvement is the new distribution center at Suape. There, we made two major changes. Before, the whole plant of Toyota concentrated here in São Paulo, supplied directed to each dealership in the Northeast. So now we have a route towards Suape, and from Suape we have the distribution locally to our dealers. And the transportation was made through trucks, and now is through the maritime route by sea. So another challenge is the environmental problems, the decrease in CO2 emissions. And we had a reduction of almost 30% of emissions of CO2. Now, internal logistics. For us, this is another major challenge. We work at the Toyota system for production, and for you to have an idea, within our plant, close to our production line, we have 1 hour and a half, 1 hour and a half of stocks, and within the plant we have 4 hours of stocks. All of that have to be worked with, and we we produce three Corollas, two Yaris, Etios. So to level the production, and the logistics is quite complicated, but we are aiming correctly because our suppliers also improved. When I started in sales years ago, we had 1,000 ppm. Now it's 10 ppm. So we stopped the line at 365 days. We stopped the line 1 hour last year. Take into consideration everything. Is suppliers correctly left and right? The supplier said they sent us 10, but in reality they sent us 9. You have to stop the line. Yeah, this year we had, the truck drivers strike that was quite terrible, but even so, we did well, and the suppliers working with us also improved their quality, helping us in logistics. Another problem that we normally have is the following: the moment the part comes in, there were people counting if the order was 10, if there were 10 parts, checking on what was arriving at our site. Now we have automatic counting, a major reduction in labor and in time. For you to have an idea, let me go back a little bit. What about the video? How do I do to have the video running? Could somebody help? Oh, there it is. So there you see. Okay, you go through écran, and passing there, everything was red already. So this is a major improvement because we had to have 12 people reading label by label, Kanban by Kanban, And we also have a reduction in terms of the space. This is one of the major kaizens that we had for last year, and we're trying to implement that in other plants as well. And that's my message, just an introduction of what we're doing and some of the challenges that we are facing. During the whole day, I'll be here to debate with you other themes as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Celso. It's really good to have some detail on what Toyota has been accomplishing in Brazil. And hopefully we can ask some questions in relation to that in the Q&A session at the end. And next, I would like to invite Carlos to give his presentation.
Bom dia.
Good morning. I would like to thank Automotive Logistics Organization for the invitation. The discussion of the topic, in discussing the topic, I decided to talk about reverse logistics and circular economy. I work at a company that produces, manufactures batteries, and we'll talk about the logistics of the circular economy with batteries and electrification. Johnson Controls is a global company. These are our values: integrity, first, led by a purpose, customer driven, and future focused. So these are global values of the company. We are two divisions: building technologies and services. This is the DNA of the company. Johnson Controls was founded by Warren Johnson, which is the inventor of the electric thermostat. And I work to a company that was recently sold to a Canadian private equity. Brookfield bought it. That's part of the market dynamics. So 2 weeks ago, we used to be a US company, and now we're becoming a Canadian company. Power Solutions is a division of Johnson Controls that's headquartered in Milwaukee, and also it has a sale point in Hanover, and it doubled the head count of Milwaukee in China, saying that the company is betting on the growth in China. It's present in more than 150 countries, has a very robust R&D structure. Last year, we produced 154 million batteries. One of the colleagues from Price mentioned about the production of 94 million of new cars. This is batteries produced for the replacement market with sales of $7.4 billion. Some interesting details. We are 15,000 employees. Let me talk about Brazil a bit. Brazil is at this area of technology. We produce the standard lead acid batteries, the conventional batteries, moving on to advanced lead acid start-stop cars that are arriving in Brazil. In North America, cars that use AGM batteries, all combustion engine cars, moving on to electrified vehicles of lithium-ion batteries, in which the lead acid battery does not disappear, but it plays a different role. In lithium-ion vehicles, it's like a giant mobile phone battery that will make the electric car move, but it will have a lead acid battery to help with lamps and ignition. So the battery does not disappear, so the reverse logistics remains. One of the main issues someone mentioned is that today in the automotive industry, there is no economic solution to recycle lithium-ion vehicle batteries. This is an issue. I am part of one of the work groups of Route 2030, and we're discussing that. In the future, how will we recycle these batteries? One in every three cars worldwide uses Johnson Controls batteries. The most well-known batteries worldwide are Eliar in Brazil, MAC in Colombia, LTH in Mexico, Dalcor in Korea, Varta in Europe, and Optima is a battery we sell everywhere in the world for special applications. Some interesting figures. Circular economy is an interesting. This is a company that's been founded 1885, so we have 132 years of existence. Toyota buys 100% of their batteries from us. We are a great partner with Toyota. We hope it continues this way. This is a plant in Sorocaba that has grown already, has expanded. This building here is about 40 years old. This part here on the right is an enlargement we made. We also have a plant that manufactures batteries for motorcycles. So the plant is constantly renewed and expanded according to the needs of the company. Where do we operate? OEM companies. We are strongly present in the automotive industry. Only brand you don't see is Ford because our competitor provides. I refuse to mention the name of the competitor here. And we share our market with our competitor in General Motors and Fiat, and the rest we provide 100% of batteries for automotive cars. We are strongly present in the commercial area, trucks and tractors, except for GCO, the rest are 100% Johnson Controls. And in motorcycles, Honda in Manaus with 85% share, Yamaha with a 65% share. Motorcycles in Brazil are Honda and Yamaha, basically. The rest are large motorcycles with a very low market share. So we have a strong presence in OEM market. And let me talk about the circular economy now. Johnson's is one of the largest companies in auto parts that work with a circular economy that's very robust. We sell new batteries. We work to have these batteries returned. We cycle new batteries, and we use the raw material almost 100%. So recycle into new batteries. I'm not going to read through everything because you'll have the presentation available afterwards. Car batteries are very recyclable. 97% of the materials used in a car battery can be recycled. Lead, polypropylene, polyethylene, sulfuric acid, and water as well. So the 3% are lost in the process of recycling. And this is a comparison in terms of beer cans, paper, and glass. So the circular economy, the reverse logistics of this product is essential for our business. The cost of lead, there are two sources from lead. Inside a battery, we only use lead to make the plates. You either buy the lead from the mines, which is very expensive, and the sources of lead mines worldwide are not abundant. In South America, they're only available in Argentina and Peru, for example. So we bring lead from China, Kazakhstan, and Russia, or we reuse the batteries we have sold. Johnson has made an association with several entities, partnerships with the World Economic Forum, working constantly on recycle topic. We have partnerships with transport companies, companies that work with stationary batteries. So we're always trying to capture the product to recycle it and reuse it in its production process. We have a brand. It's a trademark, Eco Steps. Why should why have that trademark? In Brazil, there is a law by CONAMA that makes it mandatory for all consumers to return their batteries at the point of sale. There is a law that supports that. It's not only a business thing. I'm first explaining what it's about, and then I'll explain how reverse logistics works. So there is an obligation at the point of sale in terms that for every battery sold, one used battery must be returned. Our program has been implemented 12 years ago, and it basically starts, we buy the product, sell it to the distributor that will sell to the retailers. Then this is recollected, sent to a smelter, and the smelter or recycling company returns it in terms of lead ingots and also crushed polypropylene to be reused in production. This is our logo, Eco Steps, used in Brazil, showing the distribution chain and how the recycling process works. I know I have only 3 minutes and I'll stick to the time, but basically Johnson produces the battery, sells the battery to its distributor, that sells to their retailers. So today in the distribution channel, those who sell the battery to the end user has two prices, one with the return of scrap and without the return of scrap. So the person sends it back to the distributor and they send it to a recycling company that's been approved by Johnson. So each distributor of Johnson Controls has a current account for lead, and they can only buy new batteries if the current account is positive. Today, no distributor buys new product if they have not returned the scrap, and the scrap has been transformed into raw material. It seems that the entire chain has put up money in the beginning, so we had to work with this financially, and it was not easy, so that we would have the raw material arriving before they place the order. And if there is a balance in the current account, and based on the volume of scrap that they have, we accept their order. The order is produced and then dispatched or shipped. We do this with more than 60 distributors, wholesalers in Brazil. It's essential. All manufacturers do this, but we do it in a much more robust way all over the country. And finally, just to complement, this entire recycling program will not end. Brookfield, that just bought the Power Solutions division, realized that the future of electrification of vehicles does not end with the lead-acid battery. So the new buyers have realized that the reverse logistics is key for the business. I am very pragmatic, so the projections that Price, a colleague, mentioned of 20% of electrification for the world fleet are figures that coincide with us. But I'm, particularly Carlos, I want to see how this is going to work. Because in terms of emissions of pollutants, electrification of vehicles in the northern hemisphere, because you have to save electricity with the vehicle, but then you would have to put your vehicle to charge. But in the southern hemisphere, because we have a hydroelectric grid for electricity, it's perfect. But in the northern hemisphere, where the source of energy is from a different source, then it doesn't make so much sense, but must be studied further. So in this business, reverse logistics is the core of our business. We cannot sell batteries if we do not have the reverse logistics process behind it. Thank you very much.
Carlos, a very timely presentation on batteries and what to do when we've finished using them, which obviously is something that will be increasingly important as the trend towards electrification accelerates. And next we have Patrick from Jeffco.
Bom dia a todos.
Good morning to all. Let me check here how this functions. Well, after those very complete presentations, my purpose today here is to present an insight in terms of the logistic operator with an opportunity of collaborative logistics. I believe this is the theme for this panel. Presenting here Jeffco to those that do not know about it. We are a company for logistics and rendering of services. We have 69 years of age. Well known in the market that we were born was the subdivision of Peugeot Citroën, companhia de automóveis. We have $5 billion here all around the world. And within the 10 bigger companies, we are clearly number one in logistics in Europe, where most of our activities occur. But we have a goal for expansion, and we have a presence in 47 countries already. Although we were born focused on automotive logistics, we in reality work for any company, any industry. For instance, Alpargatas. We distribute in the past all the flip-flops at Europe through optimized system in logistics and also from the point of view of the legal aspects. This is the map with our presence. This is the Fuller's projection. And here we have the dimensions of different countries well represented, which is very nice when we're speaking about logistics. Here in Latin America, we're present in Brazil, in Argentina as well, our most important activities, Chile and Mexico mainly. Mexico being a more recent unit, but also connected and is part of Latin America. And to complete our network, we have a division for forwarding and We have agents in countries where we do not have our own presence. The idea here is to be capable to serve the whole chain of logistics of an industry or an O&M. We can pick up a part in China and deliver a car in Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, any point of the world. This is our philosophy. Our identity, we do not want to have too many customers, but we want to have partnerships with our customers and work together with them to help them to focus in their own area of business, mainly in this transition period, which is very important for the automotive industry. Well, the first theme that I would like to approach is connected to digitalization. Digitalization, from the point of view of internal logistics, is something technical. Solutions that you apply within the warehouse in Europe or the United States may be applied, of course, here in Brazil as well. So probably we'll implement this type of technology in the short term. Any logistic operator has already checked the drones to help in inventories. And you have for certain used a 3D printing machine to check what are the results. So all those things are occurring and they're going to emerge in a coordination effort throughout the different parts of the world. What I would like to mention to you, speaking more about specificity of Brazil, I'm going to speak about transport. Here in the country, when we checked this fiscal system that was implemented by internal revenues, we had digitalization that is unheard of in other countries. You know, electronic city, the way bill, it's something quite pertinent to Brazil and very advanced. So this should favor digitalization in transportation too in the country. But there are some considerations to be made here. First, the eternal problem of the laws in Brazil. The laws are not clear. We are logistics operators, but we are transporters from the point of view of the fiscal aspect, because we have the transportation bill, but we couldn't be transporters as regarding the labor laws in Brazil. If not, we would have to buy all the trucks in Brazil in order to be able to operate. The laws here are very complicated and nonsense. This technology enters inside the different companies. They are very important. When you read the initial ideas of the city planners, they were concerned with productivity, but the complexity became so huge that you have to face problems of reliability of the chain and of the country, and this is a barrier. When you see that you have assemblers that want to reduce the level of stocks and will reach just some hours, and you have a server of the internal revenues that is not functional for a whole day. Just one of the 5 servers of the internal revenues does not work, and then you cannot work because it's a few hours for you to react and then the server is not functioning and it's not possible to have it. So this is a limiting factor in terms of a very ambitious goals that we have in terms of reduction of cash. If you look the fiscal system, the ones that worked as consultants before, they know that the idea is first to simplify, then standardize, and then optimize. Internal revenues first, automatize the fiscal forest that exists here, try to establish a standard, and now they're thinking about the possible simplification. Well, all the governments say they're going to simplify, they're going to simplify. Let's check this new government was going to do. When we have the electronic CTE, we thought that those implementations would occur. But we have also to change the standards. If you have an understanding in informatics, we have a whole sequence of fields, and there are some customers, due to analytical accountability, they try to change that. We, but all those changes do not simplify anything. The worst is the following: if the truck is stopped at a road, the fiscal agent want to check the paperwork there, the documents at the stop area of the truck in the road. They do not want to know about electronic systems. This is my provocation. Is this going to work or not? Are we going to invest? Are we going to do what with our goals? They are very ambitious growth. But the small lion, well, this baby lion is already waiting. It's very small, but it has the paws ready to strike. In terms of collaborative logistics, I would like to illustrate with the packaging systems. We have a solution, and our colleagues from Chef, the same. We have solutions for recyclable or reusable packaging. This is a solution that allows the sharing of packaging. Several degrees of evolution exist. In Europe, for instance, we have 1,700 industrial customers that share their packaging, and we do the optimized management of those packagings according to the demand of the O&Ms when they need to replace the packaging or they need parts. This is an activity where we manage 6.5 million of packages, and we may buy them or we may just manage them. And this is something very important. Just for you to have some notion, a major OEM in Brazil has an estimate of packaging that must go up to billion reais. All the parts suppliers also have a value that is very high. And when the fiscal goes there and says, where do you have the billion? And he shows the 20 packages that are lying out. When you had a stock of more than 1 billion reais, you have the possibility of reducing in 100 million in costs per year. Not everything is OPEX, but CAPEX is very important too. I don't have much time. Let me just tell you that the highest level of this implementation to do that is to do it in between several suppliers and OEMs. We could start with one OEM and one group of companies, one type of packaging only, and then standardize. In our sustainable world, this solution is quite ecologic because it optimizes the use and reduces the you know there will be less people doing barbecue close to the roads. Well, it reduces the waste. So I think that standardization is really needed. Digitalization is going to be a very important and key point in this development of collaboration. Our system works through web and telephone. The pooling, sharing the asset, is the main theme for the industry today. Don't forget internal revenues. Those are solutions developed in the long term that will require partnership. You, O&Ms, you need a logistic operator to be able to do that. Everybody's smiling, but this is correct. You know, sometimes to implement a solution with packaging, which is very transversal, goes through several departments of a company, is very difficult. The difficulty of cooperation uh, starts to appear in between the different departments, in between the different companies. It's very difficult to share, but we believe that we may help in this case and in others too.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Another very interesting presentation. I think all three speakers have given a lot of detail on what their companies are doing right now. So I certainly have a lot of questions. But if anybody from the audience would like to make a comment, ask a question, then please just put up your hand, state your name and your company's name, and then ask your question. You can ask questions throughout the Q&A session or right now if you like. You can ask them anything, favorite color, how many pets they have, but we would prefer automotive questions. Just here.
Bom dia a todos. Parabéns pelas apresentações. Meu nome é Alex, sou da Jeffco. Para o Celso, você mostrou o videozinho com a automação do inbound ali. Que tipo de tecnologia vocês estão utilizando naquele portal? É RFID? Ou se você puder compartilhar com a gente.
Vamos conversar separado, né?
Ok.
Assinar o termo.
Eu acho assim, independente disso, esse foi
Well, regardless of that, this is something we did from our logistics. He asked about the technology in the inbound portal, RFID, and he said, let's talk about that in private. Okay, some of the things that were mentioned here are simple but rather complex. This idea came from the program. There was a problem mentioned by Jeffco. The largest problem of Toyota in Europe was to control packaging. Logistics in Europe is complex. There's so many countries, different models, and where's my pack? I don't know. It's somewhere in Portugal. I don't know. So they were thinking about possibilities of
complicado mesmo, é realmente problema muito grande. E daí, quando a gente
so adding a chip or something. We had a group in Europe to discuss this, and we had this idea. So we thought it was going to cost too much to do what they wanted to do, but we could use this small solution. And based on this idea, this solution was created, but not to control packaging. We also have this problem. Uh, we work with 98% of efficiency, only 2%. Every 48 seconds a car enters, but we did the Kaizen, we were able to do the part, but not the invoice. And we had several problems. So based on this idea is where the solution came from. The technical solution, if we are interested, we could discuss that in private. But this is where the idea, the concept came from. And that allowed us to reduce half of the logistics. It was just checking and verification. When we say checking, we also include the invoices or printing or generating the invoice to control all of that. So this was an important solution because it improved the efficiency of our internal logistics. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Márcio Alexandre from Nissan. My question is to Celso as well. Please feel free if you cannot answer it. When you talked about the distribution center, you talk about unifying two centers in one. You mentioned that there is a financial reduction and improvement in efficiency. But aside from that, what about the fiscal aspect when you talk about unifying the entire operation in São Paulo? Was there any important tax benefit in this business case? Well, this is tough questions. Well, one of the main gains we had was the cost in terms of labor, because this warehouse was located in São Bernardo with a high cost, and with the auto-sourcing, we had a major opportunity to improve that. In terms of logistics, our efficiency improved considerably because we had distribution from many places. And of course, that also generated some opportunities in terms of incentives and improvements, not only in logistics. Sometimes the gains in terms of tax incentives are even higher than the logistics gains. But this is a policy that differs from company to company. But of course, there are also important gains, more advantages when you make such improvements, not only from logistics, but other items that contribute to this large cost reduction. Thank you.
Or comments on what has already been said. It's just here.
Good morning. My name is Sergio Perez. I work from Renault Systems, air conditioning. Today, we work with heavy RP systems not shared among Tier 1, Tier 2, and OEM companies, as well as logistics providers. Is there any plan or technology that's about to arrive that will replace that heavy ERPs? Do you see that? Usually we have to develop systems in parallel to generate strategic data. I would like to know whether you see anything in the near future in that direction. I am a provider for automobile manufacturers. The answer is no. I don't, in my 20 years with Johnson, we have worked with our ERP and our IT system that's given by the headquarters. But yes, this support system talks to or connects with all OEM suppliers or OEM systems. That's for Johnson, because all the OEM companies that I showed in my presentation, we provide batteries based on a global agreement. All agreements are signed outside Brazil, and we negotiate local prices, of course, uh, because of the Brazilian environment. But our IT system talks with the EDIs from each OEM company. So I talk to EDI of PSA, Toyota, and other car makers, but I don't see any initiatives to unify ERPs. Hmm, me neither. I do not see any convergence. Going back on the topic of my presentation, there's a strong focus on the tax issue. And let's see what's left afterwards. I mean, the systems of OEMs are global systems, so it's very hard from here, due to a local specificity, to ask for a big change in a large multinational company that has a strategic software plan that's applied worldwide. Yeah, this is an interesting difficulty. There's no one from the IRS system, the Internal Revenue of Brazil, or the press. When we tried to implement backoff, we were not able to implement it because we didn't know exactly where our inventory is located. It's not that we don't know. We work with Kanban. The Kanban system does not adapt to the regular inventory system. So we do not have a revolutionary system, but we do have a Kanban. And our philosophy is to work with a pull system and not pushed. So when we talk about logistics and how important it is, it creates a series of opportunities for improvement, from delivering the vehicle at the right time, at the right amount, at the right place, up to my own plant that cannot have a rejection level. Today we work with 98% of direct ratio. Only 2% goes to some repair. Can there be no repairs? Otherwise I have to talk to I fail my customer. So the whole system is full. And if I have some hours, a few hours of inventory, how can I control? This is why this automation system is so important. I believe on what was said. The the standardization 4.0, 5.0, whatever is important, will be very helpful. But the first thing he said is important. We must have our own system solid, solving the problems first and then standardize. Otherwise, we have what we face now with this tax system, and even Brazil as a whole. We don't see any specific change, but we must think of different ways. We are changing. So 30% of what we sell is sold at dealers, the rest is direct sales. So this is a different customer, and we have to adapt to that system. I don't see any modification in the systems, but a change in terms of how to serve customers better based on our production system. So how to please our customers, and our customers are changing. It's no longer the dealer customer, but the direct sale customer. So that is important. And now the challenge is how to work with that. We're working together, sales, production, to try to understand this reality and how we can serve them based on the Toyota production system, which is no inventory.
Which connects the idea of collaboration. A question for the panel as a whole would be, how much collaboration do you think there is in the automotive supply chain in Brazil at the moment? Maybe we can start with Celso. Do the OEMs get together and talk about how to tackle the key challenges?
Eu acho assim.
Feels. Well, let's change a bit and pose some challenges as to the things we mentioned here. For example, Toyota is changing. We are changing because our chairman has said that Toyota will no longer be an automotive industry to a mobility company. This is what everybody sees. See, if you look at the history of Toyota, Toyota has started producing weaves. Then it's produced cars, and now our president and CEO says that the third generation that always ruins the company, and he doesn't want to be this executive that will ruin the company. So he does want to work with mobility. But that poses major challenges to the company. Transforming an automobile company into a mobility company is challenging. So if you want to be a mobility company, we also have to work imagining the future. So Toyota is investing heavily in other technologies, other businesses. I don't know if you are aware, but Toyota has bought Uber in Asia, joint ventures with Amazon, Domino Pizza. So several different investments, and all that will change our business from now on. So this is a major challenge we face. Also, in terms of the environment and reduction of emissions, I agree when we talk about electrification. Electrification is coming, and what we're saying is that the hybrid technology would be one of the best solutions for us. Why? First, because hybrid technology needs no infrastructure. I don't need outlets because the engine itself generates energy for the battery. So Brazil may have that in the future, but until we create the necessary infrastructure for that, it would take a long time. And also, many of us are suppliers. Imagine the supplier of exhaust pipes. The company would just disappear if the cars become totally electrified. So this should not be a revolutionary process, but an evolution. So hybrid technology is a step. Also, we're developing the first prototype for the first flex hybrid car, because we have this problem. Electricity in Brazil, 70% comes from the water, but 30% comes from thermal plants or nuclear plants abroad. And the hybrid flex, no, it comes from ethanol. That's a 100% Brazilian company that generates zero CO2 almost. So in Brazil, we have an opportunity to produce the first hybrid flex vehicle worldwide with a technology that unites the best of Brazilian technology, ethanol, with the most advanced technology, which is hybrid. And this solution, as our friend here said, is one of the cleanest solutions in terms of CO2 emissions because it does not generate energy based on thermal or nuclear plants. The energy comes from ethanol. So this is a major point we have to work on from now on. And for that, we have to work differently, think differently, and collaborate much more. My responsibility, I don't know if you noticed, is procurement and engineering. It's not very common because if it depends on procurement, they will buy the lowest quality, and engineering would buy the most expensive gold-made part that never breaks. So I have to find a balance between these two areas. So we can try to work together to find a common or a middle path there. It's not easy. Many suppliers says, Celso, you have to become more flexible and make quality not so important. But that's what makes us different. If we do it like the other companies, we'll be just like the other companies. On the other hand, we have to change and be more advanced. So this is why we have to find a middle ground there and a solution. And we talk about collaboration, talking about procurement and engineering, but I'm also responsible for government affairs. Why? Because everything is connected, all the three areas. As Jeffco mentioned, there are so many internal roadblocks inside the company, and they must be broken. We have to work together to cope with these new challenges and overcome them. If we don't work in a different way, we'll die. Our business will end.
I would like to make a comment. It seems to be very simple, but it's a didactic example of a collaborative logistics. Johnson has 42 O&Ms as customers, and many has the Milkham system that you all know about. The rule is the truck arrived at the door, and you have 40 minutes to do everything. 40 minutes. 40 minutes, and then the truck leaves. Going beyond that, you enter the score and all that. For each one of them, you see a different package. So there is a whole group of people within auto parts preparing that. So at Scania, you have the batteries placed in such a way, the battery that is 60, 80 kilos, and it is placed in a way that the robot can easily pick it up. At Honda, there is a rack projected for the milk room because the machine is going to go there and pick things as they come. It's not just to manufacture the battery, it's to prepare it in the different milk ram situation. It's not modern, it's a didactic example of collaborative logistics. Yes, let me talk a little bit about that. In transportation, we have a great activity of inbound for provisioning of plants. And there are suppliers where we have to go there 4 times in the same day. One is for customer 1, 2, 3, 4, because each customer is well organized in their own distribution flow. But when we see that, we reinforce our conviction. The conviction was reinforced by the minimum freight system. Nobody understands that, but of course there is an optimization throughout the whole chain, and that we have concentration in clusters in all the OEMs. So there are opportunities. They need some changes in some paradigms, but they have the problems of the IT. When we talk with you about changes, everybody says, oh, great, great, we want to change. But then you go to the lower level, which is purchasing. No, first you have to have the schedule well prepared. The contract is for 3 years, so first year you try to contabilize what you have. The second year you have to get money, and the third year you have to prepare to change everything. Now things are improving a little bit, but there is a third level, is the payment system. IT of billings and accounts payable is waiting for a truck with 2 pallets from this and that supplier. If you go there with another truck, with another supplier, you're not going to get the payment. You have to change IT. If you change the concept, you have to have a ticket open in Europe or the United States. So there are solutions, of course. The solutions will arise from a common work, a cooperative work, cooperation in Brazil. We have possibilities of improving that because we are here in dire need of it. Eu acho
Stop for lunch, which will be served just to the right outside this room. And when we get back, we will be splitting into the think tanks, which are in this room, and you will see the tables are labelled according to which think tank, and you can attend the one that you choose. So thank you very much to the panelists today. Very, very interesting and detailed presentations. And if anyone has any questions, then of course try to catch these guys during lunch or the coffee break. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.